Hello, today I'm going to show you how to cast on with the Knitmaster and Ribmaster 4500 in order to do one by one rib. Now, various people have been in touch with me to say they find this so incredibly frustrating that they want to rip their own arm off and beat themselves to death with it. So it isn't actually as difficult as it looks, but there is one quirky thing about it, which if you don't get right, absolutely ruins it. But before I do that, let me just show you this. This happens quite a lot to older row counters on the Knitmaster. Can you see that as I try and reset it? It's actually the middle number is always constantly one higher than the ones around it, okay, which is highly frustrating. Okay, and the thing to do if that happens is to rotate it the other way until the middle number gently clicks into place. So listen for the click. There it was. Okay, and then with that, you turn the middle number and it picks up the other numbers perfectly well. And then you are well set to set it back to 0, which I have now done. Okay, now then, let's talk about casting on. So I'm going to go right close into this so that you can see. So you're not going to see the rest of the machine, just the casting on. Now, first thing to say is that unlike more modern machines, okay, the first few rows you will get drop stitches, you will get things that go wrong with it, and you will have to check. But once you get going, it'll be absolutely fine. So the first thing to say is that in nearly all stitches, you move the ribber carriage first across the bed and then the main carriage. However, for the first row and the first row only, it is done backwards. Okay, the other thing to notice is I've got the outer stitches on both sides are on the main bed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my yarn through like that. And if you have a look, I'm actually putting a little angle on the side like that so that I'm holding it into the stitches of the Ribmaster. But before I do that, I'm going to cast on. Now I'm casting on using tension 1 first. So I move to knit a carriage across first. And what I have to do now is I have to check for any dropped stitches. And you can see that I've got 1, 2, 3 stitches that haven't set up properly. That's absolutely fine. I just get my hook tool and I hook the yarn back onto the needle that it should be on, like so. Okay, pop it behind the latch and we are ready to go. Okay, I shall do it here as well. So I'm going to pick it up, pop it behind the latch, and we're ready to go. Pick it up here, pop it behind the latch, whoops, wrong one, and we are ready to go. Okay, having done that, I'm then going to move the Ribmaster carriage across, and what that should do is it should set it up so that all of the stitches are behind the latches. Now you can see this one hasn't. Okay, so I'm going to just pop it behind the latch like that. Okay, and then the rest of them I think have picked up all right. Now you need to make manually sure that all of the latches are open, so it's a slow process getting going. But then having done that, I'm going to turn to my main tension, which I'm going to do 6 today. Okay, and I'm going to go for the ribber carriage first. So once again, making sure it's in the sinker, I'm going to pull it across now. Can you see these two? The latches are not open. So to make super sure that all the latches are open and it's caught in every single hook. It's not caught in this one. And again, I would say that this is a significant moment in getting it to work, is to get the first few rows all properly into the latches. Okay, once it gets going, it's absolutely fine and it doesn't need you to do this. But until it gets going, you need to be careful with it. So here goes for row number 1. Okay. Now we're going to check to make sure there's nothing dodgy going on. There is something dodgy going on here. This needle has entirely failed to pick up altogether. Okay, so I'm going to hook this back yarn onto the needle first. This, by the way, is significantly easier to do when you can get your head right in close and you haven't got a camera in the way. And then I'm going to hook this onto it, and we're going to knit this row through, this stitch through by hand, like so. Okay, good. Right, and then having done that, this one looks a bit dodgy. It's sort of caught semi up in the yarn, that's a bit annoying. Okay, so again, I shall pull this through, take that right under. Okay, this isn't the neatest thing I've ever done, but it will work. Okay, knit it through. And then pop it behind the latch. That one isn't going to be brilliant, but I'm not going to bother mending it properly this time. Okay, now I've moved the ribber carriage across, so now the neck carriage goes across. Okay, now this one's dropped all together. So as you can see, the first few rows are always a bit dodgy. Now, I would have fixed this a lot better if I could actually get in there and see properly. So the other thing that's a good thing to do, which I haven't done for speed, is to make sure that all the yarns are always caught underneath the sinker latches, which makes it a lot easier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to catch those two in it. I'm going to pop that one behind the sinker and then knit it across and over this one. And with a bit of luck, that should get us going. Right, the first two rows are always going to be the most difficult to get done. Okay, again, I'm just making sure that it's in all of the latches, and I know it's in all the latches, and I've got the yarn off going at a slight angle. And then across the ribber goes again, like so. And this time it appears to be all right. Across the main carriage goes, and as you can see, once I've got past the difficulties of the first couple of rows, it actually goes all right. Now, oops, you can see here, I've got one that hasn't quite gone, so that's no problem. There we go, that's all right. And as you get to rows sort of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay, lots of these things will drop out. Now, if you have a look here and here, you'll see I haven't got it behind the latches. And it's just worth checking every row, every time, that it is behind all the latches. It's not a disaster if it isn't. Look, here's one where it isn't, where I forgot, and it went behind. So all I have to do is hike this down. Now it's actually dropped the stitch here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the stitch back on again. Now a lot of this, getting this right, is a lot of this is matching the right yarn to the right tension and the right amount of tension that you put by hand on the yarn as it pulls through. Okay, and to be fair, I'm just doing this with some random acrylic nonsense that I found somewhere, and if I was actually knitting a thing, I would definitely have done a tension swatch and really worked out what the best possible tension was. So it's not, going to be ideal, this one. However, as you can see, I'm getting on. I've done 6 rows already. It's nothing like as fast as a modern ribber, but it's rather good fun. Now, if you just knit away blindly, you will end up with massive runs in your knitting, which I think is where a lot of the frustration comes. It's about carefully placing the yarn first, and then checking it just quickly before you do too many runs. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm just going to pause it and do a little bit more. Okay, so what you'll see now I've done this is I've got a nice cast on, and it's done some nice ribbing with some nice stretch to it. Okay, it's a slow process, and you have to check it each row, but it works really nicely. So I hope that was helpful, and I shall see you guys later.